Thank you, everybody. Chris should be arriving soon and, Tina is not going to be available tonight, so we'll call the meeting to order. There is no public either in the room or online, so we will continue to move. Review of approval minutes from September 9th.
Can you turn off your mic on your?
I don't think it's mine, I'm going home. Might be some, let me see. Subject to check, but I checked it when I first logged in. Now I can't even get it to come on.
Oh, keep going.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second. It's Tracy.
Okay, Tracy, thank you very much. Any changes, comments, deletions, additions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Great, September 9th, and then September 23rd, very brief. From our tour that we took, which was a lot of fun, we'll talk about in just a second, is motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any changes, modifications? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Yeah, all right, we've got extra eyes there, wonderful, Casey, thanks. So let's move on to number 4, reactions, discussion about the committee tour of Mariners Way. Interested in people's reactions to that, what they thought, what interesting ideas came from it in your mind, anything you'd like to share? Well, as you think about it. One of the things that was, I thought was pretty interesting was the discussion about various landowners. And the fact that when I walked away from the tour, I had the sense there was like that were kind of major property owners there. And then I thought, okay, well, what happens if you could look at them not as kind of individual properties, but bring this up.
Hey everyone,
So-
sorry,
Hi, is that you, Chris?
that's me, yeah.
All right, welcome aboard. We're on number 4. We're talking about the tour and any reactions to it at this point. And I was just saying that the what I walked away from was this idea that we have 4 or 5 major landowners in there. And that if we could, we've been thinking about parcels. The fact of the matter is what we've got property owners that have contiguous pieces of property. And so that it's not just what happens on parcel A, it's really what happens within their whole, the whole property line. So, Jennifer and Chris were nice enough to take a look at the properties on Mariners Way and to send me a spreadsheet which had the various property owners and segmented by their properties. So all owned by one person in one place. So this is an example of that, and this is off the town's GIS. So I drew the lines. It's the orange lines you should focus on. The blue line is just my mistake or something. But then what I did was say, okay, let's look at wetlands for those properties. So what you have here is a wetland demarcation. As you can just barely coming into a piece of the property on what would be the southeast side. Then the question is, okay, if you've got that information, then let me just see whether I can do this. Remember this map, I couldn't put the two maps together, so we have to go now to a different map.
So it's interesting, Bruce, I did the exact same analysis, and there's actually 3 property owners that own the bulk of the back lot, we'll call
Okay, so now this is the same property, you can imagine, it's the train track is running along the lower right-hand side there. And what this map is from the Thrive report and talking about what the soil conditions are. And that has, frankly, you guys who've been working on the soil side may have a better idea about exactly what it means, but what I read it was that in this area, and it was kind of, this is a second way of looking at it. They judged the ability of the soils to handle wastewater on a 1 to 5 basis. And the 1 meaning lowest capability, 5 meaning highest capability. So in that map that I showed you before, that is one landowner, or one property owner, that 2 there, right in the middle of the map, is effectively his property. So what that says to me, as I look at it, is, okay, here's a property owner, got a contiguous set of parcels. They have a little bit of wetlands coming in on the southeast corner, but has a soils capacity, which isn't the lowest, but isn't the best. But we need to get into talking to somebody who understands exactly what could be done in a 2 versus a 3 versus a 5. But anyway, to me, I walked away from our tour saying, if we could do this kind of analysis on maybe the 3, I was thinking 4 or 5, but Doug, if 3 is really the right number, and understand what the capability of those properties are, then that becomes a much more interesting conversation with the property owner to be able to walk in and say, okay, here's what we know about your property. We'd be really interested in hearing what you are thinking about doing with this property. And we can bring you up to date with what we're thinking about relative to the committee. So anyway, that's a long discussion that I thought from the tour.
Yeah, that's great, and if I could add to that, of the 3 owners, 2 of them have the same address. So I think it's the same owner, different LLCs.
Yeah,
756 Middlesex Turnpike, which I think is the location of a recent proposed housing.
it's right next to it. That's B&L. B&L paving is the 756, and then the housing proposal is just a little bit up Middlesex Turnpike.
Well, the LLC, the address on the town website is 756
Yeah.
Middlesex Turnpike.
Yeah.
But it's Canterbury Realty and Lab Realty. They both have the same address. And then the other one is Ferry Road LLC, right there at the eastern side of the property.
Okay,
And so what I came away with, so I had spoke earlier about potentially, having a pedestrian pathway in the back. I like to talk about the back of the property, and then we have the existing businesses along Boston Post Road, but a pedestrian path along the back of the property, potentially all the way to the water. And I think, as we all saw, there's a lot of land back there. There's a lot of space. Bruce, you noted where the wetlands were. I had talked about potential parking area behind the John Deere dealership. And I just did a quick measurement online, and from the edge of the parking area to the wetlands, it'd be about a third of a mile. Which, you know, to relate it to something else would be from Saybrook Barn to Paperback, which is considerable.
Yeah,
You know, it's, when you're looking at these maps and you're looking at a little piece, it doesn't look like much, but and when you relate it to something we all see every day, it's significant. So anyways, I was, I guess, encouraged that, you know, there may be some potential there. You've got the one or two owners, all the way to from that proposed parking area, or discussed presented parking area, not proposed, but to the wetlands. It could be one big owner, or, you know, with two LLCs. So, you know, I'm totally agree with you on, having a discussion. And then number 3 is that Ferry Road LLC, and they have a marina, big marina down there, but the portion that would head to the river, and it was very difficult to see how wide that was and how walkable that was, but you know, if the Amtrak team is using it for access, then I think pedestrians could. You know, I'm encouraged by what we saw.
yeah,
So,
okay. Other thoughts that people have? All right, well, we will continue moving on then. Up for the subgroup updates.
okay, soil testing and wetlands, Chris, if you want, I'll kind of run with it. So, we just received the
Yeah.
PDF to send to the print shop.
And I missed, I know I was grateful and said thank you, and then I saw that, what happened after there was a problem with what we were sent?
Okay,
Did I miss that?
I didn't, I saw that they sent us a PDF. I didn't see if how the extent of the problem.
Yeah, there was a correction in it, and I thought they were gonna get back to us. Let me pull it up.
Okay,
What did he say here? Correction, label appears to be map lot subdivision.
I don't know, it says Mariner's Way to me, but, okay, well, we can resolve that. We're close to the, finish line here, so we should be able to go
Yeah,
to the, this week, and,
yeah, we're looking at basically what they were able to come up with, and again, I just want, we'll clear that up. But you know, they've got this, you know, on paper it would be a 36 by 72, which is scaled down from 48 to 96. So you know, we have access to some bigger numbers, but a 1 to 1600 scale. Again, back to the point. So it's correction. Label appears to be map lot subdivision. So we've got the lot line boundaries are in black. We've got the state building footprints. Okay, there it is. Labels with map block lot. That's what he's correcting. Labels appear to be map lot subdivision. And then finally, setbacks are not specifically called for, but you know, at this point, great job by Doug to keep on Kevin. And I think Kevin is trying really, Doug, your feeling is trying to be helpful, and he's responsive.
yeah, he's busy, but he's responsive, yeah. So when we get that, is that something we want to hang in Jennifer's office?
We'll just ask Jennifer to bring it to the meeting every time, that's all.
Okay, yeah, we could hang it up and make sure it's not rolled too tight, so it falls.
Yeah, I think we should definitely hang it somewhere, so if Jennifer was willing to, it be, part of her decor, that would be great, and then we could figure it out from there.
As my daughter tells me, you really need to do something with this place, Mom. She
Okay.
comes to visit me.
So we're fixing it up for you, there you go. All right, anything else out of, your group?
No, I mean, no.
But that,
Okay.
again, just one thing, I mean, that's gonna be, that's gonna be really a tool for all of us. We
Right.
just need to get accustomed to using it.
We can mark it up with what we just talked about. the
Exactly.
property
Exactly.
owner, color coded stickies and.
No, that's what I'm hoping for, be able to, utilize. Okay, we'll move on to business property owners outreach. Hopefully you all saw the letter that we talked about at the last meeting was, developed and distributed. As far as I know, in fact, I do know, because I know at least one property owner has gotten in touch with Carl. And there's a business owner there who,
The business owner.
there we go. So Tracy, bring us up to date.
Well, got the letter, which was great. Again, I think it was a great step towards just kind of explaining who we are and what we're trying to do. I again was hoping that we would have Tina tonight so she and I could touch base, but I think what I've decided is I'm gonna just contact her offline or out of the meeting and find a time where she can meet during the week, because I feel like she and I need to sit down with pen and paper and look at the spreadsheet that I have, and she can fill me in on who she's contacted and that sort of a thing. I think she and I have to meet in person at this point.
Yeah.
I was surprised I haven't heard from anyone else. I thought maybe with the letter I might hear from some folks, but I'm glad to hear that Carl heard from someone. I don't know, positive, negative, if you can say, but
No, I just know he heard, that's all.
okay. Okay. So yeah, I guess one of the things that I'm struggling with right now is we have such a, what's the word I want to use? There are so many of us little folks like me who own, when you look at the Mariners Way as a whole, right? And you look at that map in particular, to think that 3 companies maybe own, I don't know, what would you say? 80%?
At least 50.
At least 50. Okay. So my question to you is, I'm comfortable contacting all the little people. I feel a little bit like contacting the big 3. I'm not sure I would even know what to say.
Right. Now, if I will take the responsibility, I think, what I need to do is probably be the person who reaches out now with the letter having gone, be able to say, okay, you got the letter, my name is on the letter, and here's what it is we're trying to do. I think what your and Tina's role at this stage of the game needs to be still twofold. One is continuing to kind of reach out to let people know what we're about, what we're doing. Particularly when we start talking in more detail about streetscape and where we're going there. And the source for input, as we, on a regular basis, hopefully we'll be having meetings and other ways to get it, but, if you can kind of set yourself up as being, hey, if you ever have anything, you just want to raise a question, just give me a call or shoot me an email, whatever the case may be. So I think
Yeah,
being
to be-
able
to- I was gonna say, to be a resource, that's really, and a point, a touch point. People
Right.
generally like to get engaged in this type of stuff, and if you give them the opportunity, they will.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's where my strength is with the smaller people, maybe. And
Yep.
I just was feeling a little intimidated about some of the big landowners. And again, because I'm relatively new to Saybrook, right? I've only been a property owner there for 3 years. So I'm happy to continue on that. I'll hit up some more people this week, just pop in with my business card And probably I'll bring just a copy of the letter that I received as a business owner. I might just make a few photocopies and say, just wanted to make sure you saw this.
Yeah.
And because one of the things we'd like to do is make sure everybody has the info and continue to try to get that correct address attention to info, because just right next door to me on either side, both cases I have a business owner and a property owner who are separate. And I think that continues to be my goal, is to figure out who's who
Mhm.
and make
Mhm.
sure everybody's on board and hearing. But I really feel like I need to sit down with Tina and just hash out a little bit more of who's been contacted and what we still need to do.
I think it's helpful if we can double check the email addresses that we have and then
Yep.
add to ones we don't, because I mean, it's a little more nimble sometimes to be able to do electronic communications if we can.
Absolutely. Is there, if the information we collect in terms of names, addresses, emails, could that be a public document, or is that something where we would not want it to be a public document because it's got contact information? Do you know what I mean? Is that something we share as a group, or just lives in my file and I can bring it to meetings and share with Jennifer or something?
Should definitely share it with Jennifer.
Yeah.
And then we need to figure out how, what's public and what people wanna have public. My guess is you may run into some people who don't want email addresses
Right.
and stuff in a public file. And we need, when we talk about the development agency in a second, that's part of the issue that I wanna talk about is
Okay.
where we have freedom of information requirements and how, how intimidating that might be for certain people.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
okay, so I think that's down to Casey and me on street improvements. Now we get to share again, hopefully. Let's see if we can do this. Okay, so what this is, we had a very good meeting with Jeff Jacobson and his, person there, his name is Josh, whose last name I can't remember. But anyway, what they were, able to provide us with was kind of where the, state right of way is. See if I can get this in such a way where people can see it better. So this is right at the corner. If on the left-hand side is the parking lot for Mystic Market traffic light, and you're now entering Mariner's Way there. And then what the blue line at the top and the blue line at the bottom is the that's the state right of way. So you have not only where the road is, but you have all the way to the blue line, and in some cases, that's as much as 65 feet. So that we can continue.
So.
Go ahead.
Okay. So the bottom blue line that you were showing there was for this level.
Yeah, well, so for each, it's weird the way this is set up, but this is, you have to, even though it's vertical, you have to think of it as longitudinal. And so this is now the second slide in effect. So picking up from where the Mystic Market to here, and you can see that has where Boston Post Road Place comes in. And you can think of it, this is my own personal beef, but you can see that the large campaign signs are sitting on state land there rather than in private land. But that kind of gives you the sense of it, and that continue on to the next one. And then that is takes us down to where Rome Tree is. you can see that the bottom line is, getting a little bit closer to the road. It, there's still a number of the, where the, John Deere is, there's a number of the tractors are there. Up above, you can see as the, where the garage is, they have a bunch of cars that are parked actually in the state right away. But so whether we dug, whether we want to have a bicycle walkway in the back of the properties, or if we want to have something that is along Route 1, it just begins to show us that we have more, and we do have the space to do that if we choose. And it goes on. This is then the intersection with off the highway. And then kind of lastly, the going around the corner. So I think Jennifer and Casey, what we found out was it narrows at one point to about 9 feet between where the roadway ends and the state right of way ends, but it is as wide as 65 feet along there. Remember, is that my memory right about that?
I forget if it was 9 or 19.
Okay,
I thought it was
But-
12.
all right, well, good. At least there's space.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so as we begin to think of some of those models that we saw from the other report about kind of how you could lay out Route 1 there. Bottom line for me is we've got the space to do that. And so we just need to begin to think about how to make that happen. So the next step in the critical path is, this is a state road. So we need to have a conversation with Department of Transportation. We reached out to the River Cog and the transportation planner at River Cog, Rob Harriman. He did a little bit of background work for me. He's identified a couple of people at state DOT that ought to be involved in a meeting. He would be involved in the meeting as well as those of us who would want to be. I've talked to the first selectman about it. He is happy to be the convener of the meeting, so that adds kind of the imprimatur of the town being behind this to get state DOT's interest. One thing we did find out through Rob was right now, state DOT does not have any plans for the corridor. So there's nothing that they're going to be doing, they're thinking about doing, that would be disruptive to what we want to do at the stage of the game. So that was a good hurdle to get over. So we are now just a matter of hopefully having a meeting with them, understanding kind of what the parameters are that we would be working in. Jeff Jacobson's group is doing a review of the application that they had helped the town put together in 2017 to take a look to see whether the process in that application would still be the same process that we would want to follow now, and if so, what the cost would be. So hopefully we'll get that information shortly and be able to bring that back to this group and see whether that's something we can do.
Bruce, can you just because I'm thinking about this right away, just visualizing in terms of my own property. So when you say the state right away, so I own to the road or I own to the right of way? And if I own to the road, what does the right of way, what does that mean? I think
You
that's going to be a question that other property owners have.
You actually own to the right of way. The state owns the land in between the two blue lines.
Okay, so my property ends wherever that right of way is.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I believe on this slide, what you can see is your property is the farthest property on the right-hand side there.
Yep.
So right there at the, so that, there's a car right there where the right of way splits right in the middle of that car. That might be your
It is my car.
car. So,
I better move it 3 feet in the other direction.
yeah. So anyway, that would gives you a good idea, but that you have ownership to that blue line.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Okay. All right, Casey, is there anything more that you'd like to add?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay. And anything that I forgot coming out of the, interestingly, one of the things we did learn coming out of the meeting, I can't remember the name of it, I'd have to go back and look at my notes. Josh was talking about that program, remember, like sign something, map something, do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do remember what you're talking about, but I don't remember what it was called either.
But anyway, we were gonna look to see, because it's connected to the GIS.
I did ask if we had it here,
Mhm.
and I don't know that we do.
Okay. Cause there's something map, story map?
Yeah, something. like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so anyway, so that was, that from his perspective, and he works with this kind of stuff all the time. He thought that was a really good application that we may want to take a look at to be able to put some of these ideas together in a, you know, in a visual way, so. We'll see.
Yeah, and I think we're hoping that to be able to use that mapping that Bruce just brought up as a foundation for conversation about streetscape improvements too, and sort of the ability to like, hopefully, I think we talked about being able to print it out, or that they might be able to print it out and be able to actually like mark it up.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, we should look at ultimately, see what, you know, what Chris and Doug are putting together.
Yeah.
Maybe this is something that we can put on that.
Yeah.
Be able to see. Okay, so I think that is the extent of my report with Casey and Jennifer from our meeting. If there's not any questions, we'll continue to move on. So the next agenda item is the discussion concerning advantages, disadvantages of the development agency structure. And what that is about is kind of going to a point that was made just a couple minutes ago by Tracy, but also it really struck home in an email that Jennifer put together in response to this whole question about a list and being able to keep things. As a ad hoc committee of the Board of Selectmen, we are subject to all the rules and regulations of the Board of Selectmen. So we are a public entity. We have, you know, requirements, quorum, meeting, all of those kinds of things. And we are subject to the state's freedom of information rules. Now, as I thought about it, walking away from it, there is going to be a time, and I think that time is not too distant from where we are, where if you believe what I showed you before about, okay, we've got 3 to 5 landowners, property owners. We want to have a discussion with those property owners about what, you know, they're doing. If we have that discussion as part of the meeting, right now, that's a public meeting. And so that property owner is telling everybody what his or her plans are, which I doubt the property owner is interested in doing. If 1 or 2 of us meets, then we still are in a position of needing to share it back to the committee. And the minute it gets shared back to the committee, the same thing happens. So I think we're at the point where we need to have a conversation back with the first selectman and the board of selectmen about, maybe we need to blow the dust off the concept of creating this development agency, which is a creature of the statute. It is not a, town entity. It is its own separate entity, has its own separate board. We, recommendation would be, we would be the, founding board members of this development agency, but have that and take on the ability to really have development conversations in private rather than in a public setting. So I raised that, I can send to everyone the chapter of the state statutes that speaks to what a development agency is. We are, if one chooses to go down this path, one of the first things that has to happen is the development, a development plan has to be put together, which is exactly what we want to do anyway. So it seems to me, we've got a lot of that development plan already in place by the work that Camoin did. And so we would just be really adding some more specifics. And but if that became our goal as an entity to create that development plan, that would then, all of these discussions would still be part of that. So before I went to the first selectman and had the conversation, I wanted to have the conversation with the committee and say, this is what I'm thinking, this is why I'm thinking what I'm thinking, and interested in any comments that people have, any reactions.
I have comments.
Great.
So I asked AI, what are the advantages and disadvantages of development? Right. And I can share the results with everybody, and you can do the search yourself. But I can share, I put it in a Word document and I have it here. I have an extra copy for you, Bruce. In summary, what it says is, for a small town, it can kind of be overwhelming. These are my words now, overwhelming and overpowering, and can conflict with other things happening. It's like the bully in the room, you've got all this authority and power, but yet, old Saybrook, my observation, I'm sure it's everybody else's, all the commissions and the committees, we all work together, and, it's hard to get things done, but when it's done, pretty much everybody's weighed in and it's the right thing. So the results talk about that, that it can be overpowering, there's advantages in that you can streamline things and, establish these networks and get access to funding and all the good stuff, but it can kind of clobber other initiatives and progress. But the last page says how to maximize the advantages and mitigate the disadvantages. And these are themes that we've talked about before. Prioritize community engagement. Tailor the agency's focus. Instead of chasing, large scale development everywhere, we focus on something manageable, and that's what we're doing, so that's good. Build a strong online presence. Collaborate, don't compete, collaborate with all the other commissions or the Rivercog, and which we're doing, and maximize existing assets. It talks about like the cultural identity of the town. And that's what I see with all these commissions and committees that we have. Everybody works to maintain that.
Mm-hmm.
Where a strong development committee could, kind of just say, well, we're not interested in the cultural part. Of course, that's not what we're going to do, but that could be the perception. And we may not be part of it long term, it could go 10 years or something, and we may roll off. So we just have to be aware of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'll just throw that out there.
Yeah, good point.
I guess my only thoughts is, I think ultimately, and again, your points, Doug, are well taken. I think, eventually, or at some point, we need to be there. The question is it now? Or is it something that, you know what, where we are in October, we kind of continue doing our diligence, continue pushing moving the ball up the hill, because it is still going up the hill at this point. And look at, breaking out this new initiative, and it could be, the spring initiative, Bruce, which is our development committee. After we've done some more fact finding, after we've opened up some more doors, that's my sense is to me, I think we may just be a little bit premature.
Okay. Other thoughts?
I think that there are some things, there are obviously some things as discussed that we can get done preemptively before there's a formal redevelopment agency. But I tend to agree with you that, so I think some of those things, like we can talk about things, kind of the things that we're talking about now, but I think as soon as we want to really get down to like the meat of things, we need to be able to have these conversations with property owners, and we need to be able to have them in a way that they are comfortable and where we can really be prepared to try, where we can really put ourselves in a position to try to make something happen. And I think we can't fully do that until we have that type of agency in place. So I think that, as other people have said, I think we can move forward with some of the things that we're working on now, but I tend to agree with you that it's kind of hard to, I think we're going to hit that wall sooner than we think.
Do you think, I guess the question really is it also then premature to have meetings with what I'll refer to as the big five, the property owners?
Are you
I would
asking me or the group?
Say what?
Were you asking me or anybody, the group?
No, I'm kind of asking the group that in the sense of saying, well, we've got, maybe we should continue to work on what we've got. And the idea of the development agency might be something that comes down the line. If, I'm just trying to, I don't want to go too far out down the line in having private discussions with property owners. That isn't reflected back to the committee in one way or another.
And your thoughts are, if you had an informal conversation, again, we're not doing a non-disclosure or anything like that at this point, because we aren't a development committee. So your reluctance is this information will get out. I'm just trying to figure out.
It's a matter of the candor of the conversation, in the sense of having somebody say, yeah, look, in 3 years, I'm looking, I'll be done with what I'm doing, and I'm trying to figure out a good idea, or whatever the case may be. Well, or our, being in a position where we continue to do what we're doing, and all of a sudden we identify, hey, this area is the linchpin for the development of Mariners Way. And we've now just, raised the value of that property by, 200%, whatever the case may be. So it's as we get into what I'll call the development side of the discussion versus where we are in the infrastructure side of the discussion. I think that's where at least I begin to get a little nervous.
Bruce, is executive session an option? They had issues with the police commission with privacy, the selectmen are negotiating Saybrook Point, that's
Yeah, maybe
not
that's
fully
the,
public, I just don't know what the difference is between executive session and, the development agency and.
Yeah, no, you raise a very good point, Doug. I guess I haven't given that enough thought. You're right, we could share information in executive session. We just can't take action in executive session.
Right.
But I also think, and I can't, maybe Jennifer knows off the top of her head, maybe not. Or maybe somebody else does. My understanding is, I mean, there are pretty specific limitations in terms of when we can go into executive session. And I think that's when the town itself is entering into like a financial involvement, like we're purchasing property, we're selling property, we're leasing property, and that might not cover all of the conversations that we're wanting to have with, individual property owners, individual developers about like what their plans might be. I don't know the answer. I guess I would want like a legal opinion about whether or not we could go into executive session about those broader conversations.
Yeah, great point, great point.
I do not know all the parameters of executive session, so I'll have to research.
Yeah, we can find that easily. Chris, did you have a point?
I gotta,
Me? Start. Oh,
I gotta
yeah.
head into my appointment, guys. I'm sorry. I will watch the rest of the meeting on the replay.
Okay, great. And I'll send out the information about development agencies, and maybe Doug, you want to send out what AI told you.
Sure.
So that
Okay. Thanks.
Chris, go. All right.
Sorry.
Chris, are you with us or no?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just didn't know whether you had any other points you wanted to make.
Yeah, I think what I was in kind of to answer the question, the types of conversations that were, I mean, you would be make an investment of time to basically play out what these guys' plans are. I mean, again, it's all, to me, that would all be preliminary negotiations, the typical stuff that you could save through a non-disclosure agreement. So I think, we'd have to look at it. But I go back to, it's all, I kind of put you on a parallel path with our gangs knocking on the doors down Route 1, is to be kind of maybe more of a fact finder at this point. Give them a personal, give them the updates, give them the handshakes, give them the rub, and you're there to tell them what, I'm the chairman, you got the letter from Carl and myself, and I want to come here and let you know what's going on, and I'm going to be your point of contact. That conversation, because I really think this is where we are, Bruce, is it's the same, dealing with Tracy. You're the cheerleader. We need to make you the point of contact. And again, they're so important that the chairman of this committee is going down there. That's how important you are. So I think you might, without the structure in place, you might get a lot more candor, frankly, in such conversations.
Yeah.
And again, let them know that, we're thinking sometime next year that we would form a development agency to move this forward. So we're really interested in what in hearing your thoughts type.
Good idea. Okay. Other thoughts that people have on this?
According to, online, executive sessions may be held to discuss individual officers or employees. So like HR matters, strategies and negotiations about pending claims or pending litigation involving the agency or member, security matters, real estate transactions by political subdivision when publicity would likely cause a price increase, or any matter that would result in disclosing a public record that is exempt from disclosure.
I think we'll go ding, 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 ding on 4. I think that'll work. Okay. That sounds good. Thanks, Jennifer.
Yeah.
We're moving on to number 7. Any comments that members of the committee have at this point?
I have a couple comments, although I'm not a member of the committee, so.
You are an honorary member of the committee.
I just want to let everybody know that tomorrow evening at 6, there's a gathering of all the land use boards and commissions, of which I sort of consider you guys if you're interested. Some housing issues are going to be discussed from the housing committee. So if you're interested in tuning in or catching the recording later, I just want to let you know that is coming up tomorrow at 6.
And in this room,
Yes. Also, I was on a call with the Regional Economic Development Commission today. And they had a freelance economic development professional online. And he has extensive experience in brownfields. And he can take on, individual projects based on the parameters that somebody sets. So, you know, depending on if we needed extra manpower for a particular project, I thought he might be someone worth consulting, so just wanted you guys to keep that in your back pocket, that,
do you have a name?
yeah, his name is, I'll think about it, I'll think of it in a minute.
Okay.
His last name is Krupp, and his first name is with a D.
Yeah.
Dale Krupp, yes, okay.
I know them.
Okay, and the other thing, I was at a conference recently and there's this new software called Ginkgo, where you can map out a business district. And so I'm gonna be on a call related to that, next week. And just to see a little bit more about it, but it might be a good tool for us at some point too, depending on what I find out. You know, I guess some towns are using it to sort of map out their existing businesses and decide, you know, where they could make changes or, I'm not 100%, I didn't get to talk to him as much as I wanted to about what they have, but it does look like a tool that could be useful to us. So I'll let you know about that. It's not particularly expensive either.
Along those lines, or actually along the lines of Dale Krupp,
It's kind of a customer resource management tool too, where you could put in a lot of information and then spit it out in different ways that you want to analyze things. Sorry.
that's right. So the town has entered into agreement with what used to be CRDA and is now some other acronym, but I can't remember what the new acronym is. But anyway, does that agreement allow for us to access some of that entities? Because they were supposed to have consultants for a wide variety of different things, as long as there was a project involved. And I know that our first project is looking at Main Street and the possibility of housing on Main Street. But if we were able to kind of either identify Mariner's Way as a project, I mean, I'm just wondering whether there's a process that we could be following right now that would give us access to the resources that entity has.
I know they were working with another organization. But I think all of their efforts are focused on things that fit in their distance from the transit center.
You're talking the recent grant? The recent grant they got?
No, well,
Okay, this is something else.
yeah, you're right, we got a $72,000 grant. That was from the Department of Housing, but by adding an application in with this other group, we have access to their consultants that they have done some work in being able to identify. So
I can look up the name of that group. Because I do think that they had said you can. you can get some technical assistance. Yeah, can't remember the name of it though.
Okay. Well, let's keep it on the radar screen, because I think that being able to, one of the things, particularly when we're talking with landowners, that if we can be seen as conduits for development funding or development expertise, whatever the case may be, that would put us in a positive place as well. So just another tool in our toolbox, as it were.
I think it's good for us to keep in mind too, that, you know, we don't have to reinvent the wheel on everything. We don't have to kill ourselves when maybe there's like little strategic ways that we can use some of these other resources out there to help us get where we need to be going, so.
Right.
And one other thing, so the EDC, I don't know how familiar everyone is with this, but as part of our downtown business and marketing money that we took from ARPA, we've been working on a 4-year promotion plan for the town, and we are getting ready to do a pivot, probably in the spring, early summer, a little bit more towards business and a little bit less towards more like visitor tourism type of things. And so as part of that, we're going to be identifying some different businesses to celebrate and profile, and also looking at what opportunities there are in town, or are there places that we should sort of highlight as types of businesses we're looking for. So to the extent that anything that this committee is doing might fit into some of that, I can let you know a little bit more as we start working on it, but just keep that in mind too. That is meant to, one of the pieces about it is meant to promote and attract. And so if that can be used to help with our efforts here on this committee, we should keep that also in mind.
EDC is doing that.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, so you're looking for comments,
yes, sir.
additional comments?
Any additional?
I didn't want you to adjourn the meeting, even though I know it's time. So I hadn't had a chance to coordinate with Chris on this, but you know, you started talking, you were talking, and you know, this is just me looking at the big picture. You've got the businesses along the road, and then you have this land in the back. 3 to 5 property owners, septic marginal, but maybe some opportunity there. Could we go to Jacobson and ask them to see what it can support? You know, yes, it can support this, it cannot support that. I know there's a lot of ideas like, oh, we could build affordable housing, we could build a hotel, we could build this. I look at it, it cannot support that, but we need the engineers to say that. I think that would be valuable information.
Could support commercial activity, whatever.
Yeah, could it support, you know, I mean, a pedestrian path like we talked about, I mean, that by itself is minimal impact, but then can we have small shops off of that? What can it support? But if they come back and say, hey, it can support a hotel, well, that's a different discussion. So if you give us the go-ahead, I guess Chris and I can work with Jacobson and Associates. I don't know if you could want to give that to us authority now, or you want to talk to Carl, or?
No, I think the only thing we need to be aware of is the conversations that had with Jacobson up to this point have been, you know, their willingness to give us information. The minute we ask them to do work, then there'll be
Well,
charges.
this would be paid,
Right.
paid. study,
Right.
but not,
So I think in that situation, we probably need to have something defined
okay,
with a dollar amount that then we run through the first selectman just to make sure that he's comfortable with it.
okay.
I think,
So
I
I-
was gonna say, Doug, we could have like almost an informal conversation and have those guys help us out with some kind of a, you know, proposal that we could then bring to the first selectman.
Exactly, they would have to be part of it, so we could,
Yep.
Chris and I could draft something, meet with Jacobson and then come back to you with, this is what we need to do.
Right, and when Casey and Jennifer and I met with them, I introduced the fact that you two guys were working in this soils and wetland area. So it would not be, you could reference, you know, as Bruce said a couple weeks ago,
Yep.
here is, we're coming to you now with our piece of the puzzle that we need to try to solve.
Okay, yep, and we had interacted with them previously when we got all our soils data. Okay, so we will do that.
Good,
Okay, good, thank you.
anything else?
No.
Chris, Casey, you all set?
Good.
Motion to adjourn?
There's a motion to adjourn. I'll second it, as a matter of fact.
There you go. Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
okay, thank you very much. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Take care, everyone.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
Take care.